Hello and welcome back inside the Park for May for a special podcast. I'm just going to call this the 2025 Le Mans special podcast because, as you might guess, we're going to talk about Le Mans. But before doing that, obviously, I have to introduce our guest. You know who it is.
Wrecked from out of the wasteland. He's bad, he's beautiful, he's crazy.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Charsley, the International.
It's Paul Charsley. Paul happens to be sitting in the hospitality suite at the Heart of Racing Aston Martin Valkyrie and Vantage at Le Mans as we speak. And Paul was gracious enough to say, hey, I got a little bit of window of a time. If you want to jump on and chat about Le Mans, we can. And I do want to chat about Le Mans, Paul, because you and the entire team, EM James and all the drivers, have firmly put your foot on the throat of Le Mans, at least initially, by securing pole position for the Vantage, the number 27 car. An awesome performance, a great performance by all the drivers, of course, but Mattia Drudy had a great run to pole and hyperpole and secured pole. So it's also the first year for the Valkyrie V12, and they've got two cars, the 007, 009 this year in the hypercar class. So they're up against some very stiff competition. It's their first year. Paul is over beavering through the details as we speak. So having set the table there, Paul, let me just jump in and say welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for taking time.
Bonjour, monsieur. Comment allez-vous?
Yeah. Omelette du fromage.
Oui.
Oui. And I just want to talk to you up front about how your experience at Le Mans is going so far.
Yeah, so far so good, right? Holy moly. Wow. Obviously, I've been here a couple of times now, but ramping up and adding the two Valkyries, it's like the program is 4 times as big. It's crazy coming back here from running the one car last year to them now, and it's not just more cars, it's the friggin' Valkyrie, you know?
Yeah.
So it gets a lot of attention. It's very intense trying to get that car to be competitive, as you said, with a very tough field.
Yeah,
and I was looking forward to this race, not just because it's Le Mans, but it was a track that hopefully would start highlighting some of the Valkyrie strengths, and it seems that way, right? I mean, getting pole in GT3 was phenomenal. I'd say all 3 drivers did a great job because you've got to get through those. It's like Q1 through 2 and 3 in Formula 1, but you put a different driver in each time.
Yeah.
And, you know, round 1, Ian put it P2, Zach put it P4, and then Matthias just kind of, boom, nailed it on that last lap of qualifying and put it on pole, which is, we know it's not a big thing for the result of the race, but it's a massive result for the whole team. You know, I mean, everyone gets buoyed by results, and that's just the first one you can really get your teeth into at this race. And just obviously starting first is awesome, but it elevates the team, know they've got a competitive car, and just makes everyone just definitely on high alert for success and doing everything they can, each individual person, to make sure they do that. If you go there and you kind of got a fluff of a car and you're just trying to finish, it's a little different approach, but we feel like, you know, if we can dot the I's and cross the T's, we should be in with a hunt at the end.
Yeah, I gotta think, Paul. It's a great point you make about endurance racing, right? A lot different than Formula One, which we normally talk about. But in the endurance world of it, I got to think that pole from the Vantage from the drivers, the 27 car, means the car's competitive. You've got pace. Clearly, it can win a race, right? It's got the pace to do it. Now comes down all of the endurance, right? It's all about reliability and making it 24 hours. And then because I got to think the team is buoyed by the pole position, because saying, okay, now we know with the cars there, we know we've got the pace, we know the drivers have got the shoe, and the reality is now pit stops have to be perfect. We've got to get the strategy right. We've got to really be on high alert, and our antenna is fully extended, making sure that we can deliver. We know the pace is there. Now we got to get the endurance, the reliability, quick pit stops, fuel strategy. Everything's got to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. Heightened is the right word. Everyone's in a heightened state of alert.
Yeah.
Paranoia maybe.
Yeah, yeah, right.
You're like, okay, did we do that? Check everything 3 times, like leaving the oven on. Everything. Did I hear something? Is this
Yeah.
perfect? Is this? I mean, we know there's reliability has gone so far in endurance racing where it becomes a sprint race,
Yep.
for 24 hours. Um, but you don't want to be the one that did something that stopped that assault on the race. So, yeah,
Right.
every little thing is being attended to 2, 3 times, easy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's one of the evolutions too, Paul, of that sport that I think has become fascinating over probably the last, I don't know, call it 20 years, is, and maybe even 10 years, more specifically 15 years, when you think of Audi, when they came in and won LMP, and with the R8 and et cetera, and Toyota and those kind of things, is just how much of an actual sprint race this has become for 24 hours. It used to be,
yeah,
in the evenings we could kind of pace ourselves a little. Now, you go 24 hours and the cars win by 3 seconds, 6 seconds. It's amazing.
yeah. Yeah, like back when I was doing the endurance racing, okay, we'll limit our revs to this, and we're going to try and baby the
Yeah.
brakes and this and that, and it's just if you start doing that, you go backwards, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we know in IMSA there's a lot more yellows and restarts, but at Le Mans they try and avoid that stuff, so gain the pace and gap you gain, you tend to keep more often here.
Yeah.
So it's worth going for the pace to get your gap on your competition, and that can eliminate some competitors before you get down to the end, because ultimately you want as few people to really race against in that last couple hours as possible.
Yeah, yeah. And in that Vantage, when you look at the strategy, and I don't know, I've not been to Le Mans. It's like my ultimate favorite race, but I
Yeah.
haven't been there. But how different is it to say here stateside when we talk about the 24 Daytona? It's
Yeah.
dark for so long at Daytona, but I have been to that race with you a few times. And it always seems like to me the teams really felt like they could gain some, they can kind of gain some ground overnight, cool
Right.
temperatures, tracks different. Is that
Hmm.
the same for Le Mans? Do you feel like the nighttime is an area that, do teams feel like that's an area where they can gain?
Yeah, I think it is. I think driver lineup is really important during the night.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got really strong. You have to run a bronze, a silver, and a gold in the GT3 stuff, and we've got very strong in all those categories.
Yeah,
Some
you
less
do.
so, but those people they can't avoid driving at night, because part of the rules is every single driver entered has a certain amount of hours, and you just can't get away from it.
Yeah.
So that's where you can use that talent in the car to bridge the gaps. No mistakes, obviously, is
Yeah.
super important, but the mistakes are usually made at the night with maybe less experienced drivers out there, and yeah, you, there's a lot of, and there's a tire limitation too that you have to take into account for what you can do. We have to triple stint tires because
Yeah.
they don't give you enough to put new set on every time you stop. So during the night is when you're going to triple stint, and you've got to take care of your tires, but you still want that pace, and that's what hopefully the
Yeah.
drivers and the handling of the car, the setup theory is get that car to work really good at night and make that gap.
And in that vein, I know from a harder racing standpoint, you got to be excited, you got to be buoyed by pole. But and having spent time with your organization, it's such a fantastic team, and Ian is just a great guy.
Yeah.
And everything that you guys do as a team. But you guys are professionals. You guys have been doing it now a little bit. You've ran that Vantage for quite a while. You know the car. But you also got to look across the lay of the land. You've got some really other good operations there, some great race
Oh yeah.
teams you guys are up against, who execute on all levels. As you and Ian and the drivers and the strategy guys and engineers, you look across that field, what do you sense is some pretty stiff competition? Who are some
Yeah.
serious threats for you guys?
Yeah, manufacturer-wise, not through every driver lineup, but definitely the Ferraris and the Porsches seem super strong.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Ferrari was who we were battling for the pole, so that's really good. The BMW with Rossi in it, he's a pretty good driver. They're gonna be in the hunt, I think, as well. They've been operating in this series for a while now. They know how to do it, and the team WRT, who I've worked with before we even started the Heart of Racing, was kind of like a team you emulated to be like, and now we're racing tooth and nail against them, which is very, very cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's no slouches in GT teams at all. There's a lot of manufacturer support amongst a lot of these teams, and there's a big push from all those manufacturers to get the right people in place to help their car win Le Mans just as much as in the prototype field.
Do you guys feel like you have a pretty good strategy in hand? Still some things you're ironing out. I know you're had a long practice session last night.
Yeah.
You guys feel pretty confident?
Yeah, I think, we had a meeting today and we kind of ran out of things to keep thinking about. In the end,
Yeah.
you can make so many predictions and plans, and we've got a skeleton of plan, or actually a lot more thorough than that. But there's just so much talking you can do. You got
Yeah.
to wait
Yeah.
to see how the
Yeah.
how the race plays out. I mean, there's a strategy even at the beginning where which drivers are starting the race, and that's quite a mixture in the GT field, from bronzes to silvers to golds, and we're starting with Mattia. So that's where we make hay while the sun shines at this point. Try and make that gap, and then try and maintain it. Give yourself that cushion at the front end of the pack, and not be chasing anybody.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Interesting. Let's um let's flip over to the Valkyrie side of the garage.
Yeah,
So Valkyrie,
good right
good
there.
qualifying.
Yeah,
Penske had an issue. Got you
yeah,
into Hyperpole 2 with the
yeah.
009. A great run by Marco getting into Hyperpole 2. You guys start further back in the field. A little bit of surprise with the Cadillacs on pole. Good
Hmm.
performance by them, showing some serious pace. This is your first year here, and I got to be honest with you. Typically, stateside, the coverage has been very Valkyrie heavy. You guys are getting a tremendous amount of TV time. And
Yeah,
what's interesting, really, I mean, nobody really wants to maybe say the thing out loud, but the reality of it is just that Cosworth V12 sounds so good
it
compared to
does.
all the other hybrid cars. And everybody is just falling in love with that car over at Le Mans. The parade, the social media posts about the Valkyrie, it looks awesome.
Yeah,
I watched the scrutineering session where both cars and all three of your drivers were interviewed and did a great job, and you can see how excited they are. And Paul, I know that is a very much a European operation over there, and in
yeah.
your role, being so heavily in the U.S. and IMSA,
Hmm.
what have you discovered between Heart of Racing Europe and that Valkyrie program versus Heart of Racing in the U.S. Valkyrie program? Are there some interesting synergies back and forth in your role that you're starting to map out to help that Valkyrie develop over time? How you run that Valkyrie in the U.S. and then how it develops over time to because this is your first year there and you're up
Yeah.
against Penske and Cadillac. You guys got some growing and learning to do on that side of the garage. What have you seen that those synergies between the U.S. and Europe?
Yeah, it's because it's been all hands on deck at different sides of the
Yeah.
water, since this whole program began. It's a very short time frame, shorter than probably should have been, to get the car on track and develop it and make sure it's ready, which is obviously why we didn't begin with the Daytona 24. Um, so obviously on the UK side at the US factory, which is where the cars are actually built, um, the big push is always up to Le Mans, and so getting enough parts built, getting all the development parts on the cars, but you can't forget the US side. We're not like a stepchild over there, so they've been working very well in sharing parts information. Every time there's an update, the update has to go back and forth, that information sharing thing. But you can always make that better, right? And to make things better, make the flow of information better, you have to understand how that one side works and the others. And quite honestly, I haven't seen this side work yet till this weekend. So understand the format. They got more people. They got more people looking at squiggly lines on screens. But obviously they're running two cars, so I'm trying to dissect the car into two different areas to see, is there positions there that we need to be filling? Is there better information? I found some things that we can do better. The push has always been get the car as competitive as you can and get through Le Mans, because it's the most important race of the year on either side of the pond. After that, things are going to kind of even out just a little bit as both teams go through the second half of their seasons, and I think that will improve. But obviously, we had to let the European side just really focus on getting these cars here to this track and this event, and they have, and they did really well. I mean, I know we got into the hyperpole by a car being deleted, but we weren't very far off of being in there, and we got held up on our fastest lap anyway. And we still beat Toyotas and Peugeots and things like that who are on their, third, fourth maybe year of racing in here. So that makes us very proud to be able to actually come to this race for the first time. All these guys have never driven a hypercar at this track. It's not like every driver is new to hypercar as well. So I think the drivers did an incredible job. The team did an incredible job in giving them a car that they could do, and came qualifying. Marco just kind of gripped that steering wheel and just threw everything at it, and the team got it right for that and got us in the hyperpole. We weren't expecting to get pole, but to be that competitive is really good. I mean, our weak point this year has been qualifying. We feel in Valkyrie our race pace is stronger compared to others, or at least a lot closer in strength. So bring on the race for the Valkyrie. We obviously got to get it to the end. That's job one. Job two is to try and get it in the top 10. And I think if everything goes to plan, that's very possible. Management tires is super important on GT. It's also incredibly important on the hypercar side as well. And I think we've got a good handle on that in the extra stints that the tires have to do in the race. So we don't panic if we're not that far up. It's a long race, and when those cars get onto their third stint of tires, there's going to be some interesting pace differences and surprises maybe.
Interesting. Obviously the key to this is as a learning year is that pace that you had in qualifying, which you've improved on. Trying to get into top 10. I got to think reliability is going to be a major issue, right? And this is a major factor for the Valkyrie to determine how hard can we punish this car, its first year at Le Mans, and can we punish it for 24 hours, and how solid is it? Can it take it, right? And my question on that, Paul, is part of, I'm guessing, I don't know this and you haven't shared this with me, but I'm guessing that part of that reasons of running the Valkyrie over stateside for those initial races is really to try to vet out that reliability, vet out the braking systems, vet out the transmissions, the gearboxes, those kind of things, and really put it through its paces, all leading up to Le Mans. And I've got to think that that's a part of it, right?
Right. Well, its reason to be isn't to support the Le Mans program for sure. But running dual programs is essential for both sides to elevate left and right. Like at Sebring, we did the Sebring 12 hour. Goal was to finish, and then we ended up that next week completing a 24-hour test at Sebring. Which was a massive run for us to do that far back in the program. Now we're even a few months further in the program. Hopefully, any issues we had there, we're actually fixing as well. So. I hate to say reliability has been a strong point because you don't want to bring that
don't
up.
Jinx,
but it hasn't been a negative. It hasn't thwarted our learning process so far, right? It's not like we've only been able to do 10 laps every weekend, and we've been able to get a lot of mileage in and learn the car, which really is essential for the future of the car.
Yeah, when you look at Sebring and then your 24-hour tests and stuff, it wasn't like you're coming out, it's like, oh my gosh, we're dealing with massive oil leaks. We've got,
Right.
gasket issues, transmission issues. You got brake, hub issues,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't all those really major issues. I'm sure you had niggles, but they weren't
Right.
major like race stopping type of issues that you ran into,
Right.
which is
Yeah. It's
great.
yeah.
And I would
I
imagine,
mean,
Paul. So go ahead.
I was saying they're very complicated beasts. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
things, electronics and everything to keep up, and working with a company like Cosworth, their heritage. I mean, you couldn't get any better. I feel, and
Yeah.
they've definitely been a very solid partner in this program.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That they definitely know how to make a lump.
Yeah,
They've
they
made a
do.
few. They've made a few in their day.
Too true.
Um, yeah. So from a Valkyrie side, you've got the 007, 009.
Hmm.
You've got a car that is in a learning year, first year. You've got some good pace there. Reliability seems to be pretty good. You've got some great drivers in those cars. I would imagine the strategy is pretty complicated. Knowing that, look, if everybody has issues and we've got pace and miraculously we win it, we'll take it. We're all for it.
Hmm.
But the strategy on the Valkyries has got to be interesting in a two-car field, and how do we get there to maximize that performance, try to get them in the top 10,
Yeah.
knowing the competition you're against. I wouldn't want to be the person sitting down with an Excel spreadsheet to try to figure this strategy out.
Yeah, and obviously with it being the first year, it's a little different than with the GT car, right? In the GT car, it's like,
Yeah,
okay, we know the car. The car has, heritage, know every nook and cranny and how it works and what it likes and doesn't like, and so it's push. With the Valkyrie, still, it's a different track than what we've run before, so we've got to go into it probably a bit easier and just kind of get some hours under our belt and see where we're at. As I said, once we get onto the multiple stints on the tires, it'll be good to see what we feel some of the other cars will do. Hopefully they'll come back to us a little bit. But yeah, definitely always goal one is to finish that race. And even though we have had good reliability, it doesn't mean we can't bring that into the conversation when we come up with our strategy and in protecting that reliability as well, because that's key.
yeah. I remember. I remember being at Petite and spending time with Alan McNish, interviewing him and Team Yost, and I remember talking to the main engineer, Rolf, I think his name was, a brilliant guy, but he was talking
Hmm.
about how Sebring and how they use that for endurance testing and the mechanical elements of the car, because the sand and grit around the track at Sebring is quite a bit different than Le
Yeah,
Mans. It's more prone to get into the air intakes and the filters and clog those up, hamper airflow, and so they were looking at these finite little details about
yeah,
how you run that car and the kind of dust and dirt and bits that get into the air intakes of a Valkyrie at Le Mans would be different than Sebring, and all
yeah.
these little finite details of what it takes to win, right?
Yeah,
And
it's amazing what can scupper your run, honestly.
yeah,
You know, things are
yeah,
not paying attention to how the rubber builds up and how those things
yeah.
accumulate and take away performance and overheat your car, those kind of things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Overall, Paul, you pretty happy with how? I know I texted you. I was asking where you think the Valkyrie's quick, and
Hmm.
you're pretty happy with it. That question about the hybrids, the amount of torque, corner exit torque that the hybrids give versus a
Yeah.
normally aspirated V12. Are you finding, yeah, maybe there are some difference between normally aspirated V12 and the hybrids and torque levels and
Yeah.
those kind of things, but are you finding on balance that you're there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there are differentiants, but yeah, the car really likes the high speed corners. With the way the aero works, and the aero works different on our car than it does most. We have a lot more Formula One like under tray, as you've seen, very sexy.
Yeah.
The hybrids have something a little bit different, just because the the, the how the rules package works for them. The V12 allowed us to utilize that underside of the car, so our car will be strong in other points, probably in these fast corners where we're really suck into the ground rather than, on top of it. So they may get more straight line speed, maybe a little bit more coming out of the corners perhaps. So, but luckily this
Hmm.
track has a lot of fast corners where we can utilize its strengths.
Yeah, so the Valkyrie probably likes the fast right hander into Indianapolis more than it does Arnage, I would imagine.
Right, right, right. And yeah, love the
Yeah,
Porsche curves. I
yeah,
mean, Marco just keeps talking about that. Yeah, it's like you just
yeah,
go down one
yeah.
gear and you
How's it
go.
do?
Woof.
How does it do on the Mulsanne curve where you turn right into and then lead into the Mulsanne straight? Does it like that curve?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the faster the
Yeah,
turn, the better off
yeah,
it is. Momentum grip, yeah,
the better.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, that's super cool.
yeah,
Um, how's the team doing overall? This is a grind for these teams, Paul. It's 24 hours, and
yeah.
a lot of people think, well, you got the 24-hour race, but I've been following along on. I've got the package that I've watched all sessions. Right, you
Yeah,
have the practice sessions, the hyperpole broken into three. You've got night practice, day practice. This is a real grind on the men and women
mm,
in this team.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you don't think about it because you lead up, they're already just, this just had the stuffing beat out of them already when you get to the race, and then you got a 24-hour race. So
yeah,
how do you keep that team executing?
yeah. It is a grind because I mean they've been here. They were a week here before even the first practice session, right? Because we had to do the
Yeah,
test and everything, setting up the garages, everything, getting the car prepped. Yeah, they're living here for 2 weeks basically. It's kind of like a Indy 500 kind of thing, but there's a
yeah,
lot more, and you gotta not keep pushing, give them their breaks, make sure if you can, get people some free time because else there's always something to do, but you got to pull back just a little bit. I mean, ultimately, when the race starts, it's probably their easiest day of the year. I mean, apart from having to stay up because hopefully every 40 minutes is they do like 30 seconds of work, right? Um, but their job is a grind up until that point. Lots of night sessions. No one's getting to bed before 2 a.m. leading up to the race. So
yeah,
yeah, it's something. You got to keep them motivated, keep them happy, give them a pat on the back just for being there, not just because they just happen to do something magical. Just give them a wink or
yeah.
whatever. So, yeah, it's good. It's good.
It,
Everyone's in it for the big picture.
yeah, yeah. How's Ian feeling?
He's good, man. He's a dynamo. I don't know how he does it because he's got the helmet on, he's driving, and then as soon as he's out, he's on the phone. He's got meetings, he's got press things, he's doing a video about the engine. I mean, he's all over the place, and I don't know how he does it. I really don't. I try and help him as much as I can, but him being the team principal is a mighty undertaking, but he takes it so well. He does such a great job. So it's really great to work with him, honestly.
He's a machine, isn't he?
He's a machine, but he doesn't lose his sense of humor. I mean, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and it's good. Obviously, we've been buddies for decades now. But when you're at the track, your teammates, and your work colleagues,
yeah,
and it's. But yeah, got to admire that man. He's put an amazing program together with
yeah.
Gabe Newell and um, me going along for the ride. I say sometimes I'm sitting here in the suite going, "How the hell did I get here?" Um, and I appreciate every minute of it. So it's good stuff. So it just make it
Yeah,
inspire when you're in part of a program like this, as with probably most people in it. Um, it's such a great group and program to be involved with. It just inspires you to go to that extra degree, right?
yeah,
You're not like, oh, geez,
yeah,
you got to clock in, Clyde. You're like, holy cow, when can I clock in, Clyde? Because I want to keep going, and everything you do can make the team more successful, and that's just inspiring unto itself.
yeah, yeah. What's the weather forecast for the race?
Yeah, it's supposed to be dry, but they always say it always rains at Le Mans, so we don't count on anything. We haven't
Yeah,
encountered any rain on the track yet. It's supposed to be a little cooler than it's been. It's been pretty
yeah,
warm here, so it's supposed to be 10 degrees cooler. So we'll see how that works, and that'll play into that tire management as well, because
yeah,
with with the GT car, you have one spec of tire. With the hypercar, you have different choices you can make, mediums and softs. So, you know, that strategy is also coming to play, and the weather is going to play into what choices you're making at that point too.
Hey, speaking of tires, one thing I noticed, it looked like a lot of are the GT's cars running Goodyears instead of Michelin's?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Huh. And
Yeah.
how do you see the difference between those tires? You guys are so used to running Michelin's. You know the Michelin's really well. How are the Goodyears doing?
Yeah, the Goodyears do really well, honestly. Yeah,
Yeah.
they seem to.
Good.
As I said, Michelin, we know, are a phenomenal tire company,
Of course.
and you know, simply the best, and they're great to work with. But the Goodyear, haven't heard any complaints about it. Really, they
Yeah.
stand up just as well as the Michelin did on the GT car. Quite honestly, they do a great job.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Excellent. All right, Paul, I know you're busy and we
right.
won't keep you, but any predictions for the hyperclass?
Well, hyperclass. I mean, you can't discount the Penske's.
Yeah.
The Toyotas are weird.
Or Ferrari.
Well, Ferrari. That's it
Yeah.
seemed like they were destined to win another one, honestly. But I think some other teams hopefully will give them a bit better run for the money.
Yeah.
But the Toyotas are a bit off. But it seems car dependent, not necessarily manufacturers. You can't count them out either.
Yeah.
Alex obviously in the
Yeah.
front row. I mean, they're pushing hard for a good result. So that's the great thing
Yeah.
about this series. If you haven't seen this series and the other races before now, it's so competitive. I mean, the races are
Yeah, it is.
off the charts competitive. People bouncing off each other. You don't know who's going to win, and that's going to carry on here at Le Mans. I think, after 12 hours, we'll probably see a lot more sharper picture on that. As I said, the time management thing is important. The qualifying was great, but it doesn't really show the full picture of how someone's going to race over 24 hours.
Right. Right. I would ask you about GT, but you're going for the win. So
We're going for the win. That's
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I know your answer on that. So that's awesome. All right. Well, Paul, thanks so much for coming on and giving us a little bit of time just to give us a little glimpse about your thoughts at Le Mans and what's happening, and wish you all the best. I'm looking for Ian to be on the top step of the podium and gaining yet another wristwatch of extraordinary value, which would be fantastic. Maybe he'd let you wear one of his other ones, and that would be awesome. But yeah, right. All right. Best of luck, Paul. Thank you so much, and we look forward to getting you back stateside to review the race. And until we do that, this is Todd, aka Negative Camera, saying so long.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.